All right. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our webinar for today. My name is Carmen Avella, and I'm the Assistant Director for Family Engagement. And today we have Brian Kimbrough from Student Financial Aid and Bolton Murphy from One Stop Student Services with us for a great webinar, Money Matters, which has to do with anything related with financial items and also with questions that you may have for One Stop. So as we allow family members to join our webinar, we are both live on Facebook and here on Zoom. We would like to provide you the opportunity to write your questions and then provide us with your questions. So before we get started, and as we allow more family members to join, a couple of housekeeping items. We took a short break from the webinars for the 4th of July week, but we're back. And so we'll be having the rest of our webinars starting today and then continuing through early August. So I'll let you know about the upcoming webinars at the end. Please make sure that you're know that you can submit your questions through the Q&A section. And if you've missed any of our past webinars, you can view them live. You can view them on Facebook, and you can also go to our website, uab.edu/families, and under the 2024 webinars under communications, you will be able to see all the previous webinars that we've had this summer. So thank you for being here, and thank you for joining us both on Zoom and on Facebook. And so without further ado, welcome Wilton and welcome Brian, and I pass it on to you.
Hello everyone, and again, thank you for tuning in with us today. And I'm Bolton Murphy, Director of One Stop Student Services. And
I'm Brian Kimbrough, Associate Director, Financial Aid.
All right. And we're going ahead and get started with Money Matters. Just an overview of what we will discuss today. With first off being what One Stop Student Services, what that we do here in the office. FERPA, billing statements, paying tuition, what is the drop versus withdrawal, federal financial aid, there's tips and resources, and also we're going to have questions at the end. So what is One Stop? So our particular office, essentially we serve as the customer service for the institution. So we do things as far as we're the front-facing office for the financial aid office, the registrar's office, student accounting. We also have a ticket office here. We do all of the one card printing for students, and also we do answer certain parking questions as well. So again, we're the first stop and hopefully the only stop students have to make. But if we can't address the issues here in our office, we actually would do the footwork for students to just, for one, provide excellent customer service for our students, but also to take away their frustration from them having to, be bounced from office to office. As you can see here, main things that we actually do with one cards, registration, citizens set up their Blazer IDs, how to change their major, addresses and names, financial aid and scholarships, and also how to make payments to their students' accounts. FERPA, this is a big one. What is it? It's the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. So in short, this just allows students to actually have privacy on their student information. Now, I know, of course, as parents, we want to, be involved as possible, make sure that our students are on the right track and are doing what they need to do. But unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, if you decide you want to look at it, students, they do have their rights and their privacy at this particular point, being that they are enrolled in college. So FERPA is equivalent to what they have at the hospital with HIPAA. Now, what FERPA applies to, as you can see here, is transcripts and grades, course registration, financial aid, and billing and payments. Now, we don't mind answering general questions here at the One Stop and throughout the campus, but please keep in mind that due to FERPA, a lot of things that we actually can't discuss without the student's permission. However, we do have some resources that you'll be able to have access to if your student actually grants you permission to do so. So actually, let's go back here for a second. One of those things in which we later on in the presentations, we just want to go ahead and touch on it now, would be the family hub, which you as parents can actually register for it. And to actually request access from your student on different things. Students, they do have, again, they have the right to either grant or deny you access to being able to view, again, those transcript, the registration, financial aid, and they're also billing. Some things they can actually, it's not all in one. So they can allow you to see their bill, but they can restrict their registration, view your registration and grades as well. So just be mindful of that. Also, the parent desk access portal, which is another one which you can actually make payments through. Now that one is all encompassed on that particular one. That they can allow you to view grades, registration, and things of that nature. But again, those particular resources are up to the student to actually grant you access to. So that is kind of a way around the FERPA, but if you actually are calling our offices directly, you would either have permission from the student each time that you reach out to us, as far as they can send an email from their UAB email, or give us a call in advance, say, hey, my parent is calling. You can discuss, X, Y, and Z with them, or they can also either be in office while you're on the phone, or both of you all can call in together. But we'll have to have the student's permission each time that you do contact us regarding their specific information. But again, any type of general information, we can actually answer those questions with no problem. Next, with billing statements. Now we don't have paper billing statements. Everything is actually sent to students via BlazerNet. So also to students, they do get emails when it comes to any charges being added to their account. So throughout the semester, of course, if charges added, let's say if they get a parking ticket, which we hope they don't, but if they do get a parking ticket or something like a student health no-show fee, or if they ended up registering for a class late and they get a book fee or something to that effect. Anytime a charge is added to a student's account, they'll receive an email for it. We try to stay on top of it to notify students, well ahead of time, as far as, hey, you do have a charge, especially when it does come after the general payment deadline dates. So that students won't be blindsided when it comes to registration, and they can't do so because they have a hole on their account due to having a balance on their account. But as we said, that we do send emails out when payments are posted. The deadline dates are actually listed now on the academic calendar, which you do have that link there. Here with uab.edu/academic calendar. Also too, on the academic calendar, all of dates that are listed there for each individual session, because we do have certain smaller terms throughout the semester. Dates as far as classes being canceled, as far as holidays, breaks, withdrawal deadline dates, drop deadline dates, things of that nature is all listed there. But prior to on the first day of class, scholarships that we do know about, they'll be actually added to the student's account. Also, too, on the first day of classes, scholarships, financial aid, if everything is actually in place, everything is actually paid that way. Now, some parents may be employees of the university, where they had educational assistance benefit. Those will actually show before class. First day of class, you actually won't see it, but generally is added back like the second or third day of classes with those particular benefits. So if you don't see it paid out the first day, don't get alarmed. It's a normal thing that actually happens, but as long as you actually see it before classes actually begin, just know that it will pay out during that first week of classes. Next is paying tuition. So just an example of a statement that a student may have. Now, campus dining fee, now that's required for all students that are full-time taking 7 or more hours on campus. That's $225. Now, if your student is living on campus, they do have to have a meal plan, and so the base plan is the $2,440 plan. The student athletic fee is a required fee for all students that are taking classes, which those funds actually were voted on back in 2015 when our football team was actually taken away, but it was voted on by the student body that particular charge, those funds will go toward the football, bowling, and rifle teams. The parking permit, the base plan is $225 for that. That's if they do decide to park on campus. So that particular fee is not required, but it's just here for example purposes. The tuition there that we put, that is actually based on 15 hours of just your basic classes. Doesn't have anything to do with, some classes may have additional fees added to it, but just again for this purpose, added that there. So this is how it will look. It'll have the charges listed there. Then on the other side, it'll have the payments. So if the student does have loans, direct loan, subsidized loan, or unsubsidized loan, those payment amounts will be posted. If they do have any scholarships, that amount will actually have a line for that as well. Any type of let's say third-party contracts. So if you have like veterans benefits, those will actually show there too in the payment column as well. So just simple math is going from your charges, then your payment, and then of course leaves you with your balance. So with the payment schedule that we actually have in place, you do have two options, one of which if a student still has a balance, well, with their balances, all due on the first day of classes. So if the student's aid covers all of their balance, that's it. But student doesn't have aid or you pay on the first day of class, we do have the Blazer Flex plan. So the Blazer Flex plan is a one-time $25 fee that a student is automatically enrolled in if the payment is not paid in full on the first day of class. By the first day of class. And so we just break everything down into 3 payments. The first payment of which, everything's broken down in thirds. So student has a third of their payment automatically paid by financial aid or any other aid or either out of pocket. Nothing else is due on that first day of class. Then the 2 other remaining payments will be broken up into 50%. Which of course, as you see this example, on 29/15 on the second and third payment deadline days. Now, we do have late fees associated with missed payment deadlines. The first 3 payment deadlines all have $50 late fees. So if a payment is not made in full as far as a particular amount, which students will actually be able to see that before classes begin if they are actually plan on utilizing the Blazer Flex plan. If that particular amount is not paid, there will be assessed another $50 late fee to it, along with that $25 enrollment fee for the Blazer Flex plan. Now on that third payment deadline, it is $50 for that. But if a student does live in housing, there is an additional $100 late fee for housing. So at third payment, there would actually be $150 for those students that missed the third payment, that they do live in housing. Payment options that we do have, students can come in our office to drop off a check in the drop box. They can also make payments through their BlazerNet. We do have an option now, which is electronic check. So students won't have to come in to drop off a check. Now, kind of going back to dropping off a check, now we don't give out receipts. So if a student does actually make a payment via check or money order in the office, now we don't give out receipts. However, if you do actually do an electronic check, which again, free of charge, you can actually receive a receipt at that particular time. Checks can be mailed to the Financial Operations Center. However, again, if you're going to send a check, you may as well do it online through BlazerNet or the Parent Guest Access portal. Again, it's free of charge for that. Payments actually post same day, and also you are able to get a receipt. And then again, the Parent Guest Access portal, you can actually make payments through that as well if your student does give you access to it for that. Now, going on to, well, I go back to that as well, which you'll see later on, but there is a 2.95% processing fee if you are using a debit or credit card. So if you are planning on using a debit card, you may as well do electronic check, same account. Put in your routing number and also your checking account number. We don't save that information. So anytime that you do decide to make a payment, you'll have to put that information in, so even your student won't have access to it as well. So that's the easiest payment method. It's the electronic check because again, it's free. You're able to get a receipt at that time, and it actually does post the same day, so you won't have to worry about mailing in a check and hoping that it does get here in time. Because of course, with the mail, it can vary, and also too, it does take time for Financial Operations Center to actually process those payments. Another thing, drop versus withdrawal. So students, of course, they do have the option of dropping or withdrawing a class. The drop period is normally the first 7 calendar days of the term. So this particular semester for fall 24 is September the 3rd. So if a student does drop a class before September the 3rd, if they are in the full term classes, excuse me, if they're in full term classes, they won't get charged for those classes. So if you do actually make a payment on the account and the student does drop a class, you will be refunded for that particular class. Now, if a student is still enrolled and you've already paid, the balance that goes there will still just go to their current balances on their account, but students won't get charged for that particular class. So if it's a zero balance that's there, you get refunded back on those funds in the way that you paid for it. So if you did make an electronic check payment, it'll actually go back to the student's account via check if they don't have direct deposit set up. But setting up a direct deposit is very easy, which is on their BlazerNet across from their photo, manage direct deposit. And so that's actually the easiest thing to actually do for students to set up a direct deposit that way. So if you did pay via check, refund will actually go back via check if they don't have a direct deposit set up. However, if they do have a direct deposit set up, it'll go back to that particular account. Also kind of go back it up some. We don't take cash, so no cash payments. It's just check, debit card, take wires, like credit or debit, also money orders or cashier's check, but no cash. So if you do pay for your student's balance via credit card, those funds or debit card, those funds will actually go back to the card that it was actually put on. So back to the drop versus withdrawal. The withdrawal deadline for individual courses, approximately 75% of the way through each term in this particular semester. It's October the 18th for fall. So with this particular case, if students decide, hey, for whatever reason they decide to withdraw from their classes, they're not doing well in it or something to that effect, they can do so. However, it's still the student's responsibility to withdraw by the deadline date. So charges will still be posted, but they will actually receive a W on their transcript, which won't affect their GPA. However, it can affect their financial aid because when it comes to SAT, which is satisfactory academic progress, you do have to have a certain completion percentage. But just in general, if they decide that they don't want to take the class anymore for whatever reason, they do have until October the 18th to drop for individual classes. Two, with medical withdrawals, Students, they do have to withdraw from all of their particular courses. With the new medical withdrawal policy, which is went into place, I think, about 2 years ago now. No medical documentation actually has to be submitted. Actually, nope, I take that back. So now students can actually fully withdraw from their classes without even having to do a medical withdrawal. By the end of the semester, which this particular semester would be, and I should have had that pulled up. It's just so now they have until December the 6th to withdraw from all of their classes. No questions asked. However, their balance is still due. Well, the balance is still due what they have. So if they still have a balance there, still have to pay it. But they will just receive W's on their transcript. You don't have to submit any type of documentation for it. But the student will still be counted for as an attempt for those particular classes. Now, when it comes to medical withdrawals, students still would have to withdraw from all their classes, but they would have to go through student health to actually submit documentation. But that's actually for if they want to do so after the semester has actually ended. Again, with withdrawals, W's will be on their transcript. With drops, the course is actually removed from the particular transcript without even being there. So it's like they haven't even registered for the class. And so now I'm actually going to hand this over to Brian and talk about financial aid.
All right. Hello, everyone. All right. So in my department, again, to financial aid department, we're actually set up in Lister Hill. In our office, we don't see students right now. We actually send a counselor over to our one-stop area. So there will be a financial aid specialist at one stop each day. So if you need to make an appointment, you'll go into one stop and they will, our counselors will assist you. But we could always be reached by email and also phone. So anything you need, you can always email, but if you need to see someone in person, we'll be at one stop each day. And so with financial aid, the first thing you have to do, and I know it's been a little different this year, there were changes to the FAFSA. So normally, each year, the FAFSA is available October 1st. Normally, you'll just apply through studentaid.gov. That rollout for 24-25 didn't happen until almost January. But starting next year, it should be on track. So how the award year works for financial aid. So for the fall, that will run from, the award year run from the fall to June 30th, which would be the end of, for summer term, you'll still have fall, spring, and summer in the 24-25 award year. You will complete a new FAFSA and hopefully it's available October 1st for the so that'll be for the 25-26 award year. That will start July 1st of 2025, and that will run the next year. So each year, the award year will end June 30th. And again, hopefully that new FAFSA is available October 1st. So once you fill out a FAFSA, that's putting in all your information to see what you qualify for. And that way we can complete a financial aid offer. So to be clear on the types of aid, there's going to be your, and I'll go into that on the next slide, but with financial aid, that's all your Title IV funding. That does include Pell Grants as well as student loans. And to receive your aid, you do have to complete a FAFSA. Once that FAFSA is done, we have it with the school. We'll go into viewing and accepting your awards. And so with the grants, that's going to be based on your SAI. That's going to be your income. So that's going to, if you're a dependent student, that's your income. your parents' income as well as if you had any income. So that's going to be a grant because you do not have to pay that back. And there's tiers to the SAI. So depending on the income, that's how much you would receive in the grant. And that can change each award year because they do that based off your previous year's tax information. And so you also have work study that's available to students as well. And that's if you have a on or off campus position, you'll be paid out to cover any college expenses. So that will pay to your account, your student account. Also, there's direct loans. Now, with direct loans, there are two types of loans. There's going to be your subsidized loans, and then there's going to be your unsubsidized loans. Subsidized loans, those will not pick up interest while you're in school, only 6 months after you graduate, or enroll less than half-time. So with unsubsidized loans, those do pick up interest during that time. So you'll have a portion of sub loans and a portion of unsub. All first-year students will receive, if you're an independent student, if you qualify for the subsidized loans, because that is based on need, again, it's based on income. Subsidized loans, you receive up to $3,500, and that's going to be independent and dependent students. For dependent students, for the unsubsidized, you will qualify for up to $2,000, and unsubsidized, any independent students will qualify for up to $6,000, and that's for the award year. Now, undergraduate students must be enrolled at least 6 plus hours, so that's going to be half-time to be eligible for any type of federal aid. Now, if you're eligible for Pell Grant will pay if you enroll less than half-time, but it pays at a tiered amount. So there's a less than half-time Pell, there's a half-time Pell, 3/4 time Pell, and a full-time Pell. So that will pay based on your enrollment hours if you qualify. Okay. All right, so any scholarships, scholarships are done through the uab.edu at BSmart. Any outside scholarships, so if you have a scholarship from your employer, anything to your 529 plans, make sure you send those to the scholarships office, and we can get the address for you if you have any checks. And the main thing, once you do that, make sure you list any outside scholarships to your resource form, and that will be in BlazerNet. And so once you list it on there, we can actually include that in your, got it, okay. So make sure that's listed on your resource form, any outside scholarships, so that can be included in your funding for the year. All right, and also with the dependent students, again, you qualify for a limited amount of loans. So we do encourage parents to apply for the Parent Plus loans. That one is not need-based, and you could get up to the remaining cost of attendance. What that means, if you need a little bit more to cover any expenses for school outside of the tuition costs, you can be awarded up to the cost of attendance for the year, which would be, your hypotheticals, that's your housing, transportation, that information. But you do, and if you get over the tuition for the semester, you can get a stipend, and that will come direct deposit or a check to the parent, but you do have the option to sending that directly to the student. Parent Plus loans do have a lower interest rate, pretty low interest rate. Currently it's at 7.4%. Before July 23rd. We will have the updated numbers. I will get that out if anyone needs that later. And it does increase to 8.5. So it's at an 8.05 right now. But I will get in, if we have any updates, I think that will come in October. And also, if you do not want to do plus loans, or if you have any other type of loans, there are a number of alternative loans that you can look into. And in that link below, there's a lot of options. The good thing about the link, it does show you based on what you need, which would be the preferred lender. Okay. So always important tips when looking at your financial aid, scholarships, anything. Always review your balance in BlazerNet or the Family Hub before you make a payment. And any changes will come to you by BlazerNet. So if a financial aid payment comes in, if a charge comes in, you can view that on your BlazerNet in its real time. Keep in mind that any anticipated financial aid that includes merit-based scholarships awarded by UAB or any accepted federal aid. Now, one thing to keep in mind, awarded is not the same as accepted. Students must accept financial aid offers through BlazerNet before funds can be credited to their student accounts. So with that process, once you go, funds start off in offered status. Once they're in offered status, you'll go into your BlazerNet and accept those funds, okay? But we will not pay out until those funds are actually accepted. Any type of payments can be, as Wilson said earlier, payments can be made online with an electronic check, credit or debit card through your BlazerNet. Credit or debit card payments will be assessed a 2.95 processing fee. Any checks can also be mailed to the Financial Operations Center or dropped off in a secure drop box outside of the one-stop office in the Hill Center. So any online resources, BlazerNet will be your friend. That is definitely where you can view any changes, payments, a lot of your documents that you need to view, your resource form, all that's in your BlazerNet. With your payment options, you'll do the uab.edu, when to pay. The one-stop student services. And always, I tell anybody, print, if you use print or save to your phone, whatever is easier for you, always use the academic calendar. That's going to be any of your drop add dates. There'll also be any days that school is not open. So make sure you stay abreast of those. All right, and with contact information for One Stop Services Center, it'll be here. That's located in the Hill Center. You can always stop by, email, also call at the number listed up here. So, all right, thank you guys. And any questions that you may have, definitely list those in the question box.
Thank you, Brian and Wilton. And we do have several questions. And so this is a great moment to take care of those questions. And if you have any additional questions, you can submit them through the Q&A and through Facebook. So there were a couple of questions. The first question was if the slides would be available. So you will be available to go back and view this webinar as well as the past webinars and the future webinars on Facebook at any time at your convenience. And then they will also come on our website under the 2024 webinars. So there was a slide on the second slide you presented, Wilton, that had the scholarship show up as anticipated credit on slide number 2, the fourth bullet, even if you have not received a check. So the question basically says, will scholarship show up as an anticipated credit even if you have not received the check for it yet, but expect to receive it?
No. So with those, unless we actually have it, we won't know that it is coming. So if it comes before, of course, classes begin, the actual check itself comes beforehand, it'll be listed, but if we don't actually have it in hand, it won't. But once we do receive it, it will be added to the student account.
Okay. Will scholarships be usable for anything other than tuition?
So what'll happen is, if scholarship does come to us, it'll be applied to the student's account. Now, if the student doesn't have a balance that's actually remaining, anything that's over the balance will be refunded to the student. So they can use, you know, use it to really, whatever they decide, whatever school purpose they decide to, but everything does go to the actual student's account first, and then anything that's remaining will be refunded to the student.
And just to piggyback off that, it really just depends on the timing. So just say if the scholarship comes before any aid has posted and there's still a balance, it will sit there until the aid posted. So once the aid posts, if there's anything over that, that's when it'll go to the student. And then if everything has paid out, if it's a zero balance, if that scholarship hits if there's a zero balance, that full amount will be credited to the student.
Okay, the other question is, when are the books, supplies costs added for fall semester?
For that, let's see, I actually got an email about that. So it should be, doesn't say specifically, but it should be that first week of August. Because those charges are actually added by the bookstore directly. So this class is actually in what they call a first day program. Those particular charges will be added automatically. But it should be that first week of August. Well, yeah, that first week of August. For that. But at that time, students will actually receive an email, and those emails generally go out at night around between like 7:30 and about 8 o'clock. But those charters will actually show at that particular time. That's if a student is actually those classes are listed as a first day class. Also, the bookstore will send out information separately about that particular class and the books and things of that nature. Now, all classes aren't added to the first day program, so some books you would have to actually get on your own. So you can go to the bookstore, of course, but anywhere online like Chegg, Amazon, eBay. But actual charters that is books that are actually from the first day program will be added around that first week of August.
So where can families find tuition information for different courses and other costs?
So for that, it is the Paying for College website. Let me see.
And we can type it in the
Okay.
chat section, or if you have it, we will be glad to share that with families.
So it is.
While you find that information, there's another question that says, so is it included in tuition or appears as a separate entry in the student I'm afraid the question is not quite clear for understand. Is it included in tuition or appears as a separate entry in student account summary? Not quite sure if this is
for the book charges.
no, this is a separate question. But we could approach it from the book charges.
Yes, if
so-
it's book charges, it will be separate entry aside from the tuition.
And so families would.
Okay,
Yes.
so yeah, so it'll has an additional line item. So it's not just like included. So it'll have whatever the particular book is. So let's say if it's a book for English 101, so it'll have first day English 101 and then the charge of that particular.
And most charges appear as a separate item, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And we are going to paste the website where you can actually check out all the tuition information for the different courses and other costs. So you should be able to view it now.
And
yeah.
actually, hold on, I'm gonna send you this one too, because that was actually the cost and aid. But that's the cost and aid. That was actually the link that was in the presentation, and then the second one I just posted, which is still off that same page. That's a detailed tuition and fees.
Okay.
And also too, all of them really the same link. They do have a net price calculator there. Also has the tuition deadlines, information about the UAB's first day program that we just mentioned. Also tuition insurance. If parents would like to look into that particular option as well. But all of that is actually listed from their cost and aid page. So it's right there on the left-hand side.
Okay, so yeah, so that website that we just placed, uab.edu/cost aid, costs and detailed tuition fees is where you can find that information. We do have a couple of other questions, and this is great. Thank you for submitting your questions. When will we see the charges show up in the account? Can my son contact One Stop to get the detailed charges before of what is expected to be paid? And this family has been waiting on a tuition announcement.
Yeah, so with the email that I told you, I ended up getting, tuition will actually be added on the 24th of this month. So that's Wednesday. Housing charges will be added on the 25th, and meal plan charges will be added on the 26th of this month. So July 24th, 5th, and 26th is when charges will actually start being posted.
Okay, so families need to be aware and be on the work with their students on and being aware of the 24th, 25th,
And
26th. See the different charges being posted, and that'll give you a better idea of what will be coming. And then the payment is not due until that first day of class, correct?
Correct. Correct.
All right, awesome. So so the question here has to do with what is the purpose of the resource form if you are still going to have to wait to receive a physical check?
Okay, so with the resource form is for financial aid purposes. Reason being, we have to account for all funds that come in. So whether it's a scholarship, financial aid, outside scholarship, a institutional scholarship, all that has to be accounted for. The reason being is because your budget cannot go over cost of attendance. And what happens is if you do not list outside scholarship on the resource form and we budget you for up to cost of attendance, we'll have to send a portion of, just say if you're taking out student loans, we have to send that portion back. And just say those funds have already paid, that leaves a balance on the account. So we need to know about any outside funds that will be coming in, just so we could give you an outlook of your actual budget once we get everything. So in the budget, we include outside scholarships, institutional scholarships, as well as your financial aid. But that is the purpose of that resource form.
Great. And so this last question, I think is also related to trying to understand a little bit better how all that plays into anticipated financial aid.
Yeah, so just to answer that question too, is for anticipated financial aid, it includes, well, anticipated funding, I would say, is going to include your scholarships, outside scholarships, and financial aid. So we do have to have that resource form filled out if you know that something else is coming in.
So the next question has to do with how do we need to select a meal plan? Is there a deadline to select the meal plan, and can we make changes up to the deadline?
Yeah, so with meal plans, and I'll put that link in here too. You can actually select them now.
And while you share the link, there's also, we had a video about campus dining which had all the information and allowed you to select the meal plan. And we also posted some information on the Family Hub. And so you can select your meal plan, and we will share that link with you shortly about where to select your meal plan. And this is where you would go ahead and look at the different options for the meal plan.
Yeah, so you have until really the drop ad period, which would be September 3rd, to make any adjustments to it. So students can go in there now since they are available to go ahead and select those particular meal plans. Now again, it is definitely up to them as far as how your student actually want to eat. Kind of a plug for our new campus restaurant, Chick-fil-A, which just actually opened on yesterday here in the Hill Center. So That's something to be mindful of too. But yeah, you have until September the 3rd to actually make those meal plan changes.
Yes, and so this has been great information. I think the information that you will be able to go back and view on Facebook and later on our website. Please do not hesitate to reach out to either One Stop or Financial Services if you have additional information. Again, those dates of July 24th, 25th, and 26th are going to be key. We have a follow-up question to the question about the meal plan. If the student has not yet selected a meal plan, will there still be default charges on July 24th?
Yeah, so what'll happen is they'll be defaulted to the green and gold plan, which is the base one, which will be 2520. But of course they can still change from that until one of the Dragonfire plans. But they'll actually automatically be enrolled in that particular one.
Okay, so that is great to know. And they can make any changes if they decide to on that
Yep.
date.
Up until September the 3rd.
Right. And one important reminder for families is, although you will get notifications about any updates to about financial information or any updates to accounts, you cannot pay through the Family Hub. So BlazerNet would be your option for making payments or the e-checks, but you cannot pay through the Family Hub. I just need to make that clarification.
Yeah. And also to just have conversations with your students. Just make sure that they actually check their emails and also BlazerNet. Because one thing I will say, we are, not to our own home, we're good at sending stuff out, well ahead of time. And so even when we do actually send out emails, they do actually attach to students' accounts as well, so we can actually see if they actually, received it or not. But just, have them to be mindful of always checking their emails, not just for us, but just for their classes in general. Because now they have transitioned to, them actually, hey, being responsible, for, their classes and bills and things of that nature. Even though they may not be paying for it, they're still responsible for it. So definitely just be sure that they are checking their emails. If they do have their emails forwarded to another email address, be sure they are actually monitoring that email address as well. So that way that they're, stay up on stuff and not wait till the last minute to do anything. Of course, we, help our students as much as possible. Hey, sometimes we can make miracles happen, but being proactive prevents us from having to make a miracle. So just steadily be on them about checking their emails, their BlazerNet messages. Also, just keeping in mind the academic calendar of the deadline dates, so that way that they won't have to worry about if it is a long wait for something, which we try not to have waits on a lot of things. But hey, just be on top of it, so that way when deadlines do come in, they've already taken care of it and don't have anything to worry about.
And that is a great point that you mentioned. So students need to get into the habit of checking their UAB email. Again, if they have it forwarded, this is a time to just kind of focus more on definitely checking their UAB email. And just to piggyback on that, information went out to students yesterday about the new health insurance waiver and enrollment. So students need to check that, and new families will also share that information with you within the hour. So, but make sure your students do check their UAB email address, and also the Family Hub has important information that we update for families to also be aware of what's going on. Plus, just also our calendar is constantly being updated on the Family Hub. And so we have some of the information that's on the academic calendar. In addition to the academic calendar, we have that, and we also have information about other activities, deadlines, and events that are coming up. So very important, and thank you for registering for the Family Hub, and that's how you found out about this webinar. Before we go, if there's any additional questions, we still have a couple more minutes, but is there any last minute recommendation, tips, or anything that you would like families to know and be aware of as they're moving forward and getting closer to the beginning of the fall semester?
Just for us on the financial aid side, I know it was a delay in the processing of financial aid. If you haven't got everything taken care of, definitely reach out to us by phone or email. Go see One Stop, and we'll get you taken care of. So that's really the main thing. As piggyback off you on Wilton, definitely pay attention to your BlazerNet and your Blazer email. So a lot of your dates on there, and just stay on top of things. But if something's missing, definitely reach out to us.
And just one last thing that came up recently in one of our Q&A sessions with family members during orientation. The way families can make payments through BlazerNet or getting other students to give them access. Can you just maybe elaborate on how the students would go about doing that?
Okay, so student logs into their BlazerNet. Once they're above their photo, it is a link/forms tab. And then on the link/forms tab, to the left, it'll actually have parent guest authorization. From there, student, and this is all the student, they're putting in the email address. Also, they'll create a password for it. We don't have access to it, so the student will have to create the password. And also whatever email address that the parent or whomever else they want to have access to, give access to, that they can have up to 5. Students can go there, enter in the email address and also password, and then from there the parent will have access to the account. But again, students go to their BlazerNet homepage, or BlazerNet, above their photo, link/forms. And then from there to the left, you'll see parent guest authorization.
And very important, 2 things. One is that students, make sure your student has the correct email address for you. We have found that some students may be using an older email address for parents. So that's for families, and that's very important. And then just make sure that the password that your student gives you is written down somewhere so that to avoid any delays. So those are very important key points.
Now, also too, if password gets forgotten, students have to go just do the same thing again, and just create another one. But again, all that is from the student. That's one thing as far as One Stop, we can tell you how to do so, but as far as changing the password, getting access, that is on the student.
And one last question that was posed earlier was official transcripts need to be sent directly by the school or by the high school where the student is coming from, or the other, or if in the case of transferring directly to undergraduate admissions or admissions.
So now most schools, as far as college-wise, transfer-wise, either do clearinghouse or parchment or something to that effect, to that nature. And they'll just send them straight to UAB. Now, as far as high school-wise, if they're sending it via email, the email address is just uab.edu/transcript. Now, in the event that only for high school students, that a student does have a high school diploma, a high school transcript, we can actually take those in office, as long as it's sealed and unopened. But preferred method is actually having it sent via email to our enrollment operations center at the uab.edu/transcripts. And also I will type out the address to have it mailed to as well. Just a moment.
And a key point there is that it has to be an official transcript. It cannot be a transcript that students or families have. It has to come from the institution. It has to, if it's been brought physically, it has to be in a sealed envelope from the institution. So, all right. Well, while you find that last address or last emailing address for any transcripts, we want to thank everybody for joining us today, and also to remind you that we have another webinar at 3 p.m. today, and that has to do with fraternities and sororities. So if your student is interested in Greek life, that would be one webinar to join today. And we have a series of webinars coming up for the remainder of July, and then a couple coming in August, early August. And so we have student assistance and support, disability support services, university recreation, UAB Career Center, Tech Connect, the Colette School of Business, and UAB dentistry. So if you're students and you would like to learn more about those upcoming webinars, please join us, go back and register through the Family Hub. And I am posting right now the address of where transcripts need to be mailed to. All right, so I don't see any other questions, but I want to thank our presenters today, and I want to thank our families for joining us. And remember, this webinar will stay on Facebook, and you can view it at your convenience. And then in about a week, we will post it on our website, uab.edu/families, where you can find this. You'll be able to find this webinar along with the webinars we've already had and the future ones as well. So thank you, everybody, for joining us, and please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us if you have any additional questions. Thank you again, Wilton and Brian, for being with us today, and thank you, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.
You too.